unfortunately, several years ago, my son was filling out an application for college. The application had asked for his father's occupation. So he wrote down doctor. He had asked for his father's previous occupation. But he didn't know. So he came and asked me, Dad, what were you before you were a doctor? And I started to answer him, and I realized I was a farm worker. That's essentially nothing. So that's what I was told when I went to go apply for a job as a stock boy when I was in high school at JCPenney's. You know, when I tried to apply for a job at Disneyland when I was in medical school, I had no work experience. That is not a job. They obviously never worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, in 105-degree temperature or in freezing weather, picking oranges or picking grapes or chopping cotton or picking cotton, or even over here in this area picking strawberries. They had no idea. I grew up in the San Joaquin Valley in Goshen, in Little Town, with 15 other people. The reason I was in that household is because my mother had 5 kids before she was 20, and she gave us away one by one. I actually didn't know that 2 of us existed until I was in my 20s, when these 2 people showed up, and she said, oh, by the way, this is your sister Betty and your brother Bobby. I forgot to mention that after she had me, she got married and had 7 more. But she never took us in. She gave us 2 who I consider my legal guardians, my grandparents. At least I think they're my grandparents. I also never have found out who my father is, even though he fathered all 5 of us. So, speculation there is, who knows. But we were raised in this household with a lot of other kids. We slept on mattresses on the floor. Our house leaked. We had no running water. We had no hot water, obviously, so we didn't take baths. And I went to school in my same clothes that I worked in. But one day, the 2nd grade teacher, she looked at this little dirty Mexican boy, and she said, you should go to college. Now, why she would say that to me, I don't know, because in my family, we hadn't even graduated from 8th grade yet. And so she made that comment to me. And I thought about it, and I thought, college, whatever. That is, I don't know. But when I went into 4th grade, the teacher in 4th grade was the meanest teacher in school, and I feared her. But I ended up in her class, and she ended up making me the person I am today. She believed in me. She put me in front of the class, and the first time I realized I had some intelligence. Because growing up in this family, I was made to feel like I was unworthy. She gave me straight A's in my report card. I went home to show my legal guardian. I was so proud that finally she would think I was worth something. She took one look at the report card, flipped it on the table, and said, go get me some cigarettes. So I went and got some cigarettes and never showed her my report card again. But I knew that my teachers cared about me, so I strived to please them. Never mind that when my high school counselor came to get me advice about high school classes, and I said I wanted to go to college, he said, oh no, I'm putting you in woodshop like your brothers. You're not going to make it in college. So eventually he put me in college prep courses on probation, but he promised me that I would fail. When I went into the high school class, first thing I did is I looked around and I realized I didn't belong there. Those kids were different from me. I grew up in this family that was so dysfunctional that I could not comprehend what it was to be around kids who had parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles to care. And I realized that my whole life growing up, there's something wrong with me. And when I got to high school, I realized that I was not going to make it to my 80th birthday. Looking back, obviously I was depressed, but I thought I'm going to kill myself. The small little miracle happened. A recruiter from UC Santa Cruz came to our school, and he took us to Santa Cruz to look at the campus, and I thought, wow. I had never seen the Pacific Ocean, I've never seen a Monterey from this side, never been out of my area other than to pick crops. And I looked at this place, and I thought, I'm going to go here. There's one little catch. I'd go back home and get permission from my legal guardians. My grandmother looked at me, she says, you are an unworthy bastard. Cabrón, in Spanish, pendejo, stupid. You're not leaving. You can stay here and support us. We supported you all these years. Obviously, she forgot this from the moment I could walk. I was picking the crops. But she said, I would have to stay there and support them. I moved out of my house my senior year of high school. My biology teacher helped me find a place to live. he got me a job as a janitor. So actually I had another occupation, I was a janitor. But I ended up waiting to get accepted to UC Santa Cruz. And I came here, and it wasn't until I arrived and went up to the floor, and I went up to my room, and the person was there said, "Oh, you Ramon Resa?" Yes. He said, "Oh, welcome to your room." And I realized I was actually a college student. I had met my dream. And in high school, I had never dated. I was afraid because I felt so unworthy of girls. But in my class, anthropology class, I saw this girl, the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in my life. And a couple of days later, I went up to her and I said in my suave way, "Are you Mexican?" And she said, "No." I said, "That's okay." But I fell in love with her that day. And 3 months later, I heard the worst I had never heard in my life. She said to me, "I love you." Oh, by the way, we've been married 34 years. Several months later, my half-brother and sister's father died of a brain injury. I'm diagnosed. He went to the neurologist, there's nothing wrong with him, he died. Several months after that, my aunt died of breast cancer, again untreated, and I thought I should be a doctor. So I went up to my college advisor, so I went to a medical student, says, "You're not smart enough." I brought my advisor, I ended up getting accepted to UC Irvine Medical School. Obviously I struggled, I had no idea what I was getting into, but I made it, I graduated. And when I went home in between medical school and residency, my mother and my grandmother started fighting about who was my mother. I was so upset, I said, "Neither one of you is my mother," and I left. About a month after starting my internship year, my half-brother Danny and my half-brother sister Annette were murdered by her common-law husband. Again, I don't know, shouldn't have been a surprise to me because in my family, spousal abuse was rampant. But I realized I had done one thing. I had left my household, I had abandoned my brothers and sisters for 9 years in order to live my dream. I felt so guilty that I quit my program. So here I am, I'm empty without a job. But a month later, my daughter Marina was born. I took one look at her, I held her in my arms, she held my hand in her, my finger in her hand, and I realized this is no longer about me, it's about her future. I went back to my internship program and I begged for my job back. They gave me my job, I sailed through it. I started practice in 1985 in Puerto Rico, California. I now practice in a town and I take care of kids who are like the kids that I used to be. They're all farm workers. And I am there for them. I consider myself a success now, just not because I'm a doctor, but because I can influence these kids. I can see them every day in my office and I can have expectations of them what their parents didn't. And I can see that sometimes when I say something to them, they won't listen. My daughter is a graduate of Santa Cruz, and she's an actress, and she works with autistic kids. My son just recently graduated from Stanford University, and he was got medical school in the fall. I am a success because my kids and the kids that I am around are successful. And the teachers out there, thank you. You were my solution.